Dwarven Realms is a new ARPG that just released a couple of days ago, and honestly, when they reached out to us to ask us to play it, I was pretty excited. This is a game I've been looking at for a while, and I was excited to get the chance to play it, and overall, I have to say it's a pretty solid game. I think my favorite part about the game is actually the world progression, or map progression. So essentially, the way it works is the map is divided into a bunch of areas, and you have to clear the minor zones in the area, and then you unlock access to a boss fight. And the boss fights are genuinely fairly difficult, not just mechanically, but also stat checks. And so a lot of different areas you're going to have to stop to farm to get better gear, get more items, get more levels, and become strong enough to overcome the boss. And then you unlock access to the next area, etc., etc. And overall, the gameplay loop is pretty good. It's a fun game to play. It's a fun game to progress through. And I think they did a pretty good job with the character progression. So the gear itself is interesting. You know, you have armor, which is effectively flat damage mitigation, and then you have a bunch of powerful stats that you can get on armor, and you're going to massively increase your character power as you get better and better gear. Now, your weapon is actually sort of your class of this game to a certain degree, because it's going to affect what skills your character can play, and it's also going to affect your attack pattern. You can have ranged weapons, you can have melee weapons, but even like among melee weapons, you have fast attacking, short range weapons, you have longer range, slow attacking weapons, and there's a lot of variety in the weapon choices. And then you can also augment your weapon with these secondary slots, which basically I'm playing a lightning build. So I have this goblet of lightning that's going to make me constantly spawn lightning bolts that come out. I have a ring around me that constantly does damage. And then I have another lightning bolt one where it's spamming lightning bolts. And all these effects combine together into my weapon to make me do a lot of damage. You also have stats. So every time you level up, you can allocate stat points. You can do things like strength to increase your base damage, agility to give you crit chance and lifesteal, stamina for maximum life, and you can customize your character in this way. And the final primary form of character progression is from the skill tree. And you can see the skill tree is actually fairly large, and it's the game has no classes, so every character will use the skill tree. And then effectively, what a combination of what skill tree nodes you take, what weapon you use, what stats you pick is what determines overall how your character plays. So for me, I went very heavy into strength. So I have like flat damage, I have strength, and then a lot of armor. So I have like the attack speed here because attack speed synergizes great with strength because, the more damage you do, the faster you want to attack. Got a lot of armor, and overall, my character is just like a really powerful melee character. And I found the game very fun. Now, the game also has a semi-complex crafting system. It's not that bad, but it's pretty interesting. So basically, in the maps that you clear, you're going to find materials, and then you can convert the materials into usable stuff. So you start with raw materials, and then you convert the raw materials into usable materials. And you can see, I just spent all my mats. Oh, here. So here, like I have a bunch of wood. I can turn it into planks, and then I could use the planks to upgrade armor. I think all of my armor is fully upgraded. Let me see if I have a piece. Pretty sure I fully upgraded everything. Well, here's one for my inventory just to show you. So this, you basically get 7 rolls on each piece of gear. And so you can add, you can increase the armor value, you can increase, lightning plasma damage. Or if you have a lower quality item, like if you have a white item, you can actually roll to add stats to the item, which I don't have enough iron to do, but you get the idea, right? So when you get low tier items, it's actually not the worst thing because you can add stats to them and customize the stats before you upgrade the item. And then if you get a well-rolled high tier item when you upgrade it, then obviously it already has good stats and it gets even better. And so you're able to progress your character in a bunch of different metrics at the same time, which is really interesting. The combat for this game is also fairly interesting. So the main damage source of every class is going to be like your basic attack, right? Which is just like this. And then you have like an attack pattern here, but I believe every attack has like the same area of effect. But what's interesting is that if I double click, my character will permanently attack. And you run around at regular speed, it doesn't slow you or anything, so you run around constantly attacking. Then you can weave in your other abilities. So, for example, on this build, one of the things I really like about it is my Q. So my Q has a massive area of effect on it, and you can see that it does, and it also does quite a bit of damage. So it's great for clearing. It can thin out packs. It's good for bossing, like if you can't get on top of the boss. And then my ultimate, basically slam the ground, do AoE damage like this, and the longer I go without casting it, the stronger the next cast becomes, which is pretty interesting. And you also have access, no matter what build you're playing, you always have access to this dash. And what's interesting is this dash actually costs mana. So the more mana regeneration you have, the more mobile your character is, which is kind of interesting. And then on top of that, the potion not only fills your life bar, but also fills your mana bar. So whenever you use your potion, you want to try to use it in a way that where you're always getting life and you're always getting mana. So it creates like an interesting strategical thing. On top of that, I think something else worth mentioning is that monsters in this game, they absolutely swarm you, and you cannot move through monsters unless you evade. So always having some mana up to evade is really important. So the gameplay is like, you're basically constantly trying to spend your mana so that you can do as much damage as possible, but you're trying to make sure you always have enough mana to evade in case you get caught out or if you get caught into a mechanic, which actually makes the combat fairly interesting. And I like how this meshes well with the boss design. The bosses have a lot of like very telegraphed attacks that they do that are easy to dodge if you're paying attention, but when there's enough of them going off, when there's enough monsters on the screen attacking you at the same time as you're fighting the boss, it becomes difficult to make the right decision. But overall, I think the combat is pretty interesting. I think the boss fights are well designed. I think the character progression is pretty good, and I like the way that you traverse through the world, through like the world map and stuff, and progress your character. I like how the boss fights are fairly hard and make you farm. And overall, I think it's a pretty solid game. It's definitely fun. It's like $10. You should definitely just give it a try. It's fun to play. And I want to thank them for sponsoring the video. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, everybody.